morning, everybody. It's your girl, Miracle Sims. You're listening to God, Sex, and Love, your daily dose of inspiration, the juice. Today, let's have a little chat about justice, friends. But before we get into that, it is May 8th, 2020. All right, so let's get into this chat about justice. So basically, justice is the due reward or punishment for an act. Man, I know, friends, we can look around and we can see that there's so much that's unfair in this world. So many things that we may be seeking justice for. Maybe some things that we feel like we can't even trust God with this situation because it just looks like He's not doing anything, or I don't know where you may be feeling, right? But there's some points and some things I'm just going to point out today. It may not be popular, but I'm just going to go ahead and do it. And hopefully it encourages you today in your journey. But here we go. So biblical justice is, or basically justice is biblical. There's many points defining, biblical justice, such as loving your neighbor, loving your enemies, being kind to one another, look to the interests of others, respecting the elderly, showing no partiality, seeking justice for orphans, widows, and unfortunates and oppressed, and also equally of the need giving voluntarily. So equality of need giving voluntarily. So there's a lot of ways that we are told to have this biblical justice, but when we look all around us, I'm pretty sure there's examples of, sad to say, but like none of this stuff taking place. So it's like, how can we, how are we to make it through this world that doesn't seem to do any of these things? You may see a few people here and there doing this and that, but the majority don't seem to be doing these things. So it's like, how are we to live and how are we to even do these things when you may feel like you're the only one doing it? This topic is deep and heavy. Right now, I'm pretty sure everyone knows all the different things that are shared on social media and everything like that. Speaking of, which I didn't mean to talk about, but basically I found out yesterday was the National Day of Prayer. I wish I had known that when I did the juice yesterday morning, but when I did find out, I tried to share that multiple times on our Facebook page, just to kind of put that out there, because again, this may not be popular, but as Christians, if we get into the Word, there's just a lot that's being asked of us to do, and although it may be hard, it's just, these are the types of things that we're expected to do. Like, again, like reading over this list of biblical justice, we're expected to love our neighbors, we're expected to love our enemies, we're expected to be kind to one another. See, I find it interesting that majority of these things when it comes to justice is dealing with other people. It's not even about yourself. It's about like how to handle other people. Now, I know that's going to be deep. I know people are like, maybe they're tired. I know turning to the other cheek is one of those things that you constantly hear when it comes to these type of conversations. I guess basically, friends, I'm just going to put some reminders in our hearts and minds. And again, hopefully it encourages you to do what you're supposed to do. Because at the end of the day, that's one thing I'm finding. Is that no matter what other people do, we're still supposed to do what we're supposed to do. Whether that's in our marriages, whether that's in life in general, like, these are the things that are expected of us. And my thing about it is, the more people that do these things, then maybe the more it gets spread around. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if there's ever been a clear example of people really, really living the way that God asked us to live. Yeah, that's what crazy thing about it. Maybe I need to do some research or something, but I mean, I clearly, even the Bible, they weren't doing everything that he asked of them. So, I mean, I don't even know. I mean, yeah, that's an even deeper mindset about that situation. But hey, let's just go ahead and just keep these things in our minds, and then, you know, hopefully it encourages us today. So, one, we need to acknowledge that God is merciful, but he is also just. So, he is going to punish sin because he is just. And yeah, so let's just keep that in our minds. Another thing is to acknowledge that, well, friends, now this one, this is one that I struggle with, and I know, I'm assuming maybe you guys are going to struggle a little bit with it too. And it's basically acknowledging that our ways are not God's ways. Yeah, God's ways are not our ways. So, you know, our idea of how God is going to punish sin and, you know, have justice on these situations, it may not line up with God's way of handling these things. There was something recently that made me really, it opened my eyes to this whole concept, and I didn't know how I felt about it. And that is, I don't know if it was when I was doing the juice. It was something recently that opened my eyes to this. And that is that majority, if not all, all sin is covered under what Jesus did on the cross. So, for example, even in our hearts and minds, we're thinking, so for example, I guess the biggest thing is murder, right? So, someone murdered someone, right? So, in our hearts and minds, we're now like, yes, God's going to repay. There's going to be justice, X, Y, and Z. You took a life, X, Y, and Z. Now, you know, life for a life, yeah, you know. But the interesting thing is, and this is, I don't know, this is just pointing out that our ways are not God's ways for your friends. The interesting thing about it is, if that murderer comes to Christ, then that murderer isn't going to get the quote-unquote justice he deserves, because what Christ did on the cross covers even him. And I didn't know how I felt about that when my eyes was open to that. And again, I would say that was fairly recent. It had to have been like over the past month. I can't even remember what opened my eyes to it. I think maybe it was going through Holy Week and doing all that study on on what Jesus did on the cross. But whatever it was something that opened my eyes to that fact, and I just was like, but what about what that person did? But at the end of the day, it's like, what Jesus did covers all sin. And so, yeah, if a murderer comes to Christ, they're covered. You know, and so I don't know if we need to let that marinate. That's just one example. But what I'm saying is that we need to just go ahead and understand that, you know, our ways are not God's ways. And, you know, understand that his grace and mercy covers all sin. And so if you're just going to go through life holding on to this person, this person's going to get what they deserve, they're going to get what they deserve, they may not get what they quote-unquote deserve in your eyes. However, even with that being said, let's just go ahead and remind ourselves that, you know, we all are, you know, we're not exempt. So, you know, we may have a problem with God's grace and mercy. However, I mean, I'm pretty sure if you think about your own life and the sins that you've done, because all sin is deserves death. That's what sin leads to, death. So when we think about it in that aspect and think about what we've done, and I'm sure we're all thankful for God's grace and mercy that we are covered, right? So don't just let's remind ourselves of that as well. Friends, no, I'm probably not saying nothing. Y'all probably struggling with this today. I get it. Hey, I understand. I totally understand. But remember, now I'm paraphrasing this right here. You guys can go ahead and check it out on your own. Romans 12:19. Paraphrase says, "Vengeance is mine, say the Lord." So understand that God got you under control. God got the situation under control. He ain't surprised about nothing. And yeah. Now, friends, if you are struggling with this, go ahead and just Google trusting God when life is unfair. It's on crosswalk.com. It's a blog post. Check that out if you guys are struggling for a deeper understanding of this. But yeah, friends, yeah, I know there's a little heavy juice today, a little some juice with some pulp in it. It got some pulp in it today, but hopefully it encourages you this morning. All right, let's get into the Bible verse of the day, and that is Ezekiel 36:26. It says, "A new heart also will I give you, and a new spirit will I put within you, and I will take away the stony heart out of your flesh, and I will give you a heart of flesh." Friends, I hope you guys are encouraged today. Thank you so much for listening to God, Sex, and Love, your daily dose of inspiration, the juice. Go forth and have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I look forward to talking to you all tomorrow, if the Lord's will. Bye-bye.